What is up, YouTube? Today I'm bringing you a tutorial on how to fix, clean, restring, and do all the nice essential shit for your guitar. We have a set of 10 to 52s or 10 and a half to 52s. This is a set that I've never tried before, so this is a good experiment. This guitar is an Epiphone Les Paul. This is a sort of like studio model, I guess, like a standard. It's been modified. There's all kinds of cool shit done to it. We'll get into the finer details momentarily. But for now, we're gonna try setting this up in C# standard for some old school heavy metal, Black Sabbath-y kind of stuff. Check it. We're gonna start by detuning the instrument and getting the strings nice and loose, so that way when you go to pull them out of the guitar, they're not tight. The way that the strings are wound matters. These tuning machines are also locking. This is a very unique custom piece to this guitar. This is not a stock standard thing. You would have to buy these aftermarket and have them installed. So once you have the strings slacked out or with very little tension, they can come out, pulling out the back of this piece here. This is called the stop bar. Pull all these strings out, and you'll notice there's a little ball end here to the strings. This is what keeps them inside the bar so they don't come flying out as you're tuning the guitar. So once you have your top 3 strings out, we'll wrap them up, kind of coil them, keep them together like this. This is the way I usually get rid of strings. Kind of just wrap it in on itself a couple of times here. You can do it whichever way you please, but usually you kind of just wrap them up. There's a tail, doesn't really matter, you can clip them. But these are dead strings. Do with them as you please. The thicker strings, same thing. These are all wound, meaning that they have individual smaller wraps of metal wrapped around the exterior of it. So as you can see, there's like this nice shiny reflective surface here, as these are more of a more matte looking design. They have these ridges in it. You can hear a noticeable sound difference. You can hear like that kind of whine to it, as these don't produce that same sort of sound. As you can see here, this is your stop bar. This is what holds the strings in. This is your stock standard kind of tailpiece you'll find on all Epiphone and Gibson style guitars. They're usually made out of aluminum, and this is like a coated brass or gold colored stop tail. It's supported by 2 studs that are installed with a flathead screwdriver, fairly large. This helps adjust the action, meaning the string height off the back of the guitar going over the fretboard. Depending on how you play and how low you want your action set up for your guitar, for how low you want to play, this could either be really high up or really sunk into the guitar, like how this one is. The next important piece is your tune-o-matic bridge. This is a bridge that helps intonate the tuning of the guitar, keeps everything nice and stable, and allows the strings to rest over top so they're not getting buried into the guitar or scarring up the stop tail piece. The original way that these were wrapped, this was the bridge, and it had ridges on the inside right here that would be very similar to how these are set up. These are called string saddles. These all move with a Phillips head screw and all roll inside of a little cavity here, and they move back and forth with a little spring and the threaded bolt. All guitar players should be well versed in the knowledge of their instrument and craft. You should always have these 2 essential liquids in your toolkit: lemon oil, polish. These 2 liquids will keep the guitar clean and fresh feeling a lot longer and a lot nicer than the average cleaning liquids. Dunlop is usually the mainstay for all the liquids like these, the 65 polish and the 65 lemon oil. And they have their individual uses as well. For this application, we're going to use the lemon oil first, and we're going to go up the neck. This is called your fingerboard or fretboard. This needs to be kept very, very lacquered and nice. If a fretboard gets dry and crusty feeling, it's going to feel dead and lifeless, and your fingers are going to get stuck. So we lubricate the fretboard with lemon oil to give it a nice, slick feel. Give it a little bit of that liquid love. It's gonna feel like it's got new life brought into the neck. Once this sets in, you wipe it down with a rag. Get it all nice and nice, get it all in there. It'll start turning into a more shiny, reflective looking surface. Give this about 15 minutes to sit. Let it all the wood absorb it. Get it nice and healthy and rich looking in color. As you can see, it already brightened up and it's already a lot more vibrant in color, as well as the pearl inlays here. They have a little bit more pop to them as well. Dunlop 65 polish. This is for the top of the guitar here. Now, this is normally for cleaning up the surface. So far, this looks relatively clean, but I'm gonna hit it with polish anyway. You wanna do it not directly on the guitar, because as you can see, it leaves a lot more liquid than it's desired. So if you do it above, you have a little bit more to play with and not a lot to worry about cleaning up. This is kind of the satisfying part. You can watch all the dirt and grime come off your guitar and it looks absolutely different. These studs here, they may feel loose and they may sound a little concerning, but this right here is how they fit into the body on a thread. As you can see there, they just thread nice into the body. So, fun fact about this guitar, this has been modified sincerely. There's a lot more stuff that's not stock than was. These tuning machines up here are locking tuners and they're a vintage style. This is totally not stock to the guitar whatsoever, which is a very helpful and beneficial thing. The next thing that's not stock are these pickups. They are EMG active pickups. This is a similar design to the lead guitar player Jim Root of Slipknot. He uses a similar set to this. I believe these are called the retroactives, and they require a battery to power them. These knobs here are off of a Hofner bass, very similar to what Paul McCartney used in the Beatles. Very unique kind of thing. You don't see that often on a random guitar you find out in the wild whatsoever. And strap locks by Schaller. The Schaller strap locks are one of the most beneficial things a guitar player could have. They lock in and they thread through the strap. As you can see here, there's the stud, your locking washer, and there is a set screw right there. That set screw helps keep the washer in and keep this all together, so that way it clicks on, doesn't come off. Now it is time to put strings on the guitar. We are using the Mondo Slinky Pack by Ernie Ball. Never tried these before. It's a 10.5 to 52, so something new for me. Lighter bottom or lighter top end and a heavier bottom end. Might be able to get a little bit more bass, a little bit more snap out of it. They usually come individually packed, as you can see, from 52 down to 10.5. They have their own little packages. Now, we're going to start putting strings on the guitar. Now, the way that I do it from the thickest to the thinnest. A lot of people go the inverse way, they go from thin to thick. I find it easier just to go this way. It's just kind of a personal thing. I really don't have any sort of right or wrong ways to restring a guitar. Now with the locking tuner here, this is going to help you with string tension. This is going to help with taking strings on and off easier. It just makes life a lot simpler and less of a hassle. You just start locking in right about there. You can hear we're getting a little bit of fret buzz. Might be because the guitar's bridge is too low. A little too low there. Always want to adjust so that way you can tell when a guitar is set up wrong. If you're getting too much fret buzz, meaning that the string is sitting too low on the neck and it's clashing, hitting these frets right here. If it sounds like a really, really buzzy sound, I'll give you a prime example here. Supposing somebody's not fixing the guitar right and they send it to you like this. That is bad. That is very bad. You don't want that. You want to be able to hear every note ring out evenly and fluidly. So on and so forth. You'll get random guitars that have issues with parts and components. But in recent times, a lot of the more inexpensive guitars, much like this one, come with a lot more high quality, reliable, easy to find parts and components everywhere. You can find anything like this set up with like $200 bridges and $100 set of tuning machines, and it's a perfect stage ready guitar. So always test your guitars as well with the bridge. If it's set up like this, make sure you're not getting any sort of ringing. You will get some buzz. It might be called sympathetic noise. Anywhere between the nut to the bridge, any gaps, you will hear a ringing and a sort of reverberation of sound. It'll come from back here where there's a gap where the strings are just floating around, or up here at the nut behind it where all the strings are going to have a gap right over there. Lazy, when I'm feeling really lazy, I should say, I have the Power Peg tuning machine here. You can simply put it right there, and it brings the strings up to tension a lot faster instead of cranking on the tuning machine forever. Tuning the strings a little bit higher when you're initially putting strings on helps with the tension. So when you bend the strings back, they come back at tension and they come back perfectly in tune. Doesn't always work the first time, so you have to stretch the strings out constantly. By pulling on it from where the pickups are on the guitar and holding it down, tension between the first and second fret here, which is this position where my two fingers are at. It's gonna sound horrible, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not gonna be pretty, but once you get it in tune and all stretched out and all the strings are all nice and even, your guitar will stay in tune a lot longer and a lot easier. As you can see here, I'm using multiple hands. I'm using two hands to try and stretch out the strings. This is kind of a faster, a little bit more aggressive way of doing it. It's kind of a way that I don't personally like to do, but I kind of want to try and get this done fast so I can play it and see how this feels. kind of getting a little ahead of myself, but this is another way of doing it. I've seen guys take a rag similar to this, put it right here, and just run their fingers up and down, which is something that really, really, like, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me, because I'm afraid I'm going to cut my fingers open on strings, and I'm just going to bleed everywhere on my guitar. And nobody likes a bloody guitar. So, very cool, fast way to do it. It's just very aggressive and kind of rough on the hands. You gotta have to have the calluses to just go up and down. With the thicker strings, it really doesn't feel that bad, but when you get to the unwound strings here, that's where it's like, ooh, I'm afraid of getting cut. So we ran into an issue. The bridge was causing a significant amount of buzz on the strings, the higher strings to be specific. Now, if you run into any problems where your strings aren't ringing out after this fret here, the 12th fret, see it sounds a little dead there? Sounds a little dead right there, so we may have to raise the bridge up just a little bit more, or we may have to bring the neck forward by adjusting what's called the truss rod. Behind this little badge right here, there's a cavity, a little slot with an Allen key. You can place it inside there and shift a rod that goes all the way down the back of the neck. From all the way down right to about here, there's a long cavity and a long channel, and it just sits in there to help adjust the neck. Guitars are made of wood, so if you put them in different environments, they're going to warp and they're going to shift. Without the truss rod, your neck could be really far forward or really far back, and if you can't adjust it, well, you're not going to be able to play any sort of rock and roll riffs. Can't do any of that fun stuff if it's all beat up and not right. This is the final product as it stands. This is all cleaned up nicey nice. The last thing we have to do is clip the strings. I use a pair of pliers right here supplied with the Ernie Ball cleaning kit. You take the inside right here, this little inside cavity, and you have it always facing up. Get as close as you can to the tuning machine. With the clippers, just cut them. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Kind of a easy thing to do, kind of satisfying once everything's all done and ready to rock and roll. Not that hard at all. And that's that. She's all cleaned up, ready to rock and roll, ready to start writing some insane, crazy riffs. All good to go. Ready to go.